afternoon and welcome to everyone who's here with us today for the live discussion celebrating Pride Month and the launch of Silver Rainbows Pride, the National Day. My name is Natalie Ravenscroft. I'm the Service Development Manager here at NAPA, and we are streaming live across our Facebook and YouTube channels. Please say hello in the chat box below. Tell us if you're celebrating Pride Month, and if so, what have you got planned? I'm delighted to be joined today by Sally Probert-Hill, Chief Executive of Body Positive. But before I invite today's guest to join me, for those of you watching who may not be familiar with who NAPA are, let me share. NAPA is a national charity, and we support the care sector to prioritise well-being, and we promote the importance of activity, arts and engagement, and we champion the role of activity providers. We provide information, advice and practice development tools, which include thousands of resources that are available on our practice development platform, The Shed. NAPA also has a wide range of professional development opportunities such as qualifications, training programmes and conferences, which we just had last Tuesday, so look out for that. We are proud to be the Association for Activity Providers in the UK. As a charity, we believe that you should have the resources you need to engage the people you support at low cost or no cost. I'm delighted to be discussing with Sally Pride Month and why are LGBTQ plus activities important for care services. Body Positive is a Northwest-based charity. They have been working with older care services throughout a number of projects and partnerships, but the main one being Silver Rainbows Pride, and we're so excited to hear more about that. So, Sally, welcome to today's chat. Would you like to tell the audience a little bit more about yourself, Body Positive, including Silver Rainbows, and why is Pride Month important to you?
Hi, Nat. Thank you for that. Well, I'm the Chief Executive of Body Positive. We were formed in 1992 in Cheshire, and we started off as an HIV support service. So it's volunteers supporting primarily gay men who are HIV positive at a time when there was a lot of stigma and discrimination against people with HIV. Over the last 30 years, it is now 31 years, we developed our services to kind of meet the changing needs. So fortunately, HIV, the nature of it has changed. So medication is now a lot more effective. So people are able to live better lives, continue working, and there's a greater awareness. There's still some stigma, which we'll work with, but we changed our service then to meet the broader needs of the LGBTQ communities and sexual health. So Pride Month is, one of our big months. So it provides that focus, I think, for other organisations to really look at what they're doing and how they're meeting the needs of LGBTQ people.
Yes. And do you want to just share a little bit around, other than it involving just the conversations, why is Pride Month important in general for the older care sector?
Well, we started our specific service for older LGBTQ plus people in 2016, and we called it Silver Rainbows. We gave it its own identity because people were coming to us and saying, what is there for us? What is there? We don't feel comfortable and safe in old people's services, the mainstream services, and that includes the care services. The perception of older people's services was that they would be and could be homophobic or transphobic. So while that might not be the case in a lot of places, it was the perception. So it was about breaking down those barriers and working with the care sector to sort of enable them to demonstrate that they are a welcoming and inclusive organisation, but also for them to sort of maybe recognise that where there are room for improvement and things they could do to take it forward.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you, Sally. And then Silver Rainbows, if you want to hear a bit more, you can head over to the Body Positive website. Sally, one of the main questions we often hear across the NAPA support service and the membership is, what is Pride Month? What is it about? Why do we have a Pride Month? Why is it important to to recognise Pride Month. Do you want to just share a little bit about the history behind Pride Month for anyone that's watching today that might be unsure?
Yeah, I think it's become something. I think originally the month of June was chosen in America because they have a lot of their prides in June. But it is a really good focus for people to consider that there are still inequalities for people who are LGBTQ, and they still feel like they can't be their authentic selves all the time, and at work specifically, and also though accessing health and care when you're feeling at your most vulnerable, you need to be able to be your authentic self, and if you can't be that, then there are reasons why LGBTQ people suffer from worse mental health still. So there's things like that still need addressing, and Pride Month celebrates the changes that have been made and the massive progress that's been made, which is fantastic. And the cultural attitudes have changed. People do feel safer, but there are still things that people don't feel safe about. And unfortunately, older people's services, particularly, and care services, are one of those that people are still have some reservations about.
Yes, definitely, and we do see that certainly, like as I mentioned, through the support services such as the RAIN network. We had a session um, last month around how services can be inclusive in their approaches towards LGBTQ plus communities. And look, the similar questions were, coming forward that they might celebrate Pride locally outside of their services, but it wasn't really something they thought of within their own practice. That maybe the older community might not want to celebrate. There may be some barriers that they have in terms of conversations and things like that. But I think it's really important to focus on why we have pride. What is that story behind that? Will eventually we be supporting individuals in the sector who will need that support, and supporting care staff to have that conversation, or the confidence, or the tools and the resources to be able to support individuals.
Yeah. I think there's a particular cohort now of people who are probably 70 plus, who have been through a huge change in legislative reasons, representation and cultural representation. So they have lived through when things were illegal, Section
Yeah.
28, but also the good stuff as well. So there's, gay marriage, adoption, equal age of consent, things like that. So the difference between, somebody who's experienced that lifespan is huge. And people carry with them their history. People who are used to hiding things because they had to, otherwise they would be, they could be prosecuted or targeted or receive abusive mail or whatever. So that shouldn't be underestimated, and a lot of people are still used to keeping themselves to themselves, as it were, and not sharing or being tentative to share. So what we need is an environment where people feel happy, safe, and they can thrive, and they can just be themselves, and also their friends and family can be themselves as well if they came to visit them, if it was residential care. So it's about opening things up and demonstrating. You can't just say we have a policy, because if you're looking at a care home or a service, you don't know they've got a policy. You don't know if they've done training. There has to be some visual sign, and having some celebration as part of Pride Month, that's a big sign. And people are amazed. They go, "You're having a pride in a care home?
I
That's
know.
amazing," and people just feel so empowered by that. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And we do certainly see across our membership here at NAPA some services which are really embracing Pride events within care services. But you've been working with some fantastic organisations for the past couple of years now, and not just with Pride, but with other events. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about the organisations you've been working with and the things that you've been doing to create positive practices towards the LGBTQ plus community?
Yeah, I mean, we developed a few projects around heritage and history. So valuing that heritage and history and the experiences of older LGBTQ plus people, and to say, like I said before, that the experiences they've been through inform how they feel today. And we've created oral histories, videos, newsletters, a whole heritage package to say this is what these people went through, and this is why sometimes people don't feel confident to come out, and some people who've never come out, they may come out in a care home. How are you going to address that? Make it so that somebody thinks, actually, I can have those conversations. I can have those pictures in my room. I can do that. I can ask if somebody can take me to a pride. So it's about creating that atmosphere, I think, where people just feel they can just go for it.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, we've got Pride History Month as well, which is in February. And then resources. Please do go over to the Body Positive website, and we also have them on a dedicated website page on the NAPA website where you can access that information. Great for, as Sally just mentioned, starting that conversation. Even just something simple as I heard one amazing activity provider who taken for Pride Month famous individuals throughout history who happen to be representative of the LGBTQ plus community. But that wasn't the focus of the activity. It was about how they changed society in terms of their profession or in terms of their charity work, and that was the way that they'd used and started that conversation through Pride
Yeah.
History Month. And I thought that was a fantastic way. It wasn't about this is the activity we're going to focus on individuals that identify as part of this community. We're going to focus on their abilities and their achievements and who they who they are throughout the course of history. But it just so happened that the connective way that everyone was connected was in the fact that they were part of the LGBTQ plus community. So you've supported some Pride events within care services. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that, because it is NAPA's Year of Connected Communities,
Yeah.
and we are all about connecting with our wider communities and internal communities. So do you want to just share what's been happening there?
Yeah, well, we worked with the Belong Care Village in Crewe because they wanted to do something, but it was like, where do we start? And we don't just want it to be a one-dayer.
Yeah.
We want to make real impact to the people who are there. So the the Pride Day that we did, and we've done four. I'm just trying to remember because of the pandemic, it
Yeah.
really interrupted everything. So yeah, I mean, it was fabulous. We've had the mayor there, we've had the fire service, we've had a red carpet fashion show, and all those sorts of things to get residents involved. And that it's across the board residents. It's not aimed at just for LGBTQ people. And I think the inclusiveness involved, it was with the staff as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the staff were brilliant. It was, everybody was putting a massive amount of effort into it, and it didn't need a huge amount of stuff. But also, I think something key was that we were asked to go in as a LGBTQ organisation, so the links out to the community were made, so that those authentic experiences came in, and people felt like, oh, there is something else that we can connect with. We are part of a broader sort of a service or support service. So we took people in who told their stories. We did things like poetry, which was fabulous. People felt really free to do stuff like that. We've done design work, lots of art and crafts. Obviously, I know NAPA is a tip top on art and craft activities. So, but things like that, and we did the cupcakes and so everything, and it was all very relaxed, fairly low level to start with. And we're not going in, we're not. There's no preaching involved. It's just about, LGBTQ people are part of all communities. It's not just young
Yeah.
people. So, in terms of people in residential care, LGBTQ people are disproportionately highly represented because They try to manage situations themselves at home, and they get to a crisis point. So they get to crisis point quicker, so then they need that support in a residential setting. So when people say we don't have any of those, which that's something that people have said quite a lot, how do you know? How do
Yeah.
you know? If you're not creating an atmosphere where people feel safe and comfortable to talk to you about that, about sex or gender identity, sexuality or gender identity, then you'll never know. And
No.
people go back in the closet, sadly, and that massively affects their mental well-being.
Yeah, I think there's just something you said there on obviously about connecting with that wider community, that organisation coming to you as a service, and it not being about the main focus of being the Pride event. It was building on that. I mean, I'm presuming after all this time now you're at a point where yes, you've got the fire service involved and the whole community is getting there, but it really is about them baby steps, as I mentioned about the AP
Yeah.
that had focused a kind of reminiscence history session on people that have achieved amazing things throughout
Yeah.
their life and been recognised in society for that. But the common thing that bound them all together was that they were part of the LGBTQ plus community, and then that just it started another conversation. So I think you're right there in pointing out that it doesn't always need to be a huge pride event. If you get to that point, fantastic, but it is about them initial first steps.
Yeah. You could
Yeah,
just show a film and then talk about that film. What does
yeah,
that mean? What does that represent? And I think it's just that people just want, I'll speak personally, you just want the acknowledgement that you are part of the community.
yeah,
So just not being ignored, or not sort of considering that there are actually other types of relationships, other types of people that exist within, the cohort of people that we're talking about. I think that is really important, and even something sort of small, like having, rainbow flags are a good shortcut. It
yeah,
might seem like trivial, but if you see it and you go, oh, actually, they've considered it this at least, and
yeah.
that's the baby steps, like you say. But who knows where that will lead? To Silver Rainbow's Pride Day, that's where it'll lead,
That's
and
where
that's
it'll lead.
just brilliant. It's just heartwarming in that way, really.
Well, thank you, Sally. I'm hoping that lots of people will get involved. So, as Sally just mentioned again about the Silver Rainbows Pride Day, NAPA and Body Positive are two prominent organisations, and we are dedicated to fostering inclusivity and celebrating diversity. We are proud to announce that our collaboration is hosting the National Day for Silver Rainbows Pride, and that's going to take place on the 24th of June. So we welcome everyone, where possible, to get involved, as small or as big as you like. And this groundbreaking day aims to highlight and honour the LGBTQ plus community in their diversity, with a special focus on individuals who are over the age of 50. As Sally mentioned, we want you to get involved in any way you feel you can. It could be something as small as a cup of tea and a rainbow cupcake and just start that conversation, or it could be something as huge as a big community pride event. And there's no expectations. It's just about you recognising the day in the first instance. We see lots of creative approaches to connecting with your wider communities. And as I mentioned before, it's NAPA's year of connected communities. So what better way than starting with your local LGBT plus community? There is resources available if you need any support on community connections. And we also feature a wide range of resources over on the dedicated NAPA webpage, which I just mentioned for Silver Rainbows Pride. It's got a rich heritage of celebrating LGBTQ plus people, as Sally mentioned. And we encourage all care services and support services to try and embrace this National Day, plan activities, reach out to organisations, and speak to your individuals and your staffing teams and your friends and family about how you could get involved and recognise this day. Sally, Body Positive, I believe, have some amazing prizes to be won in celebration of Silver Rainbow's Pride National Day. Would you like to share that with the audience?
Yes, well, we're issuing the challenge, the Silver Rainbows Pride Challenge, which is basically we want to know what you've done to celebrate the day or around the day. Obviously, we understand that it may not be exactly on the day. But the competition opens from the 26th of June, which is the Monday after. And it's about telling us what you've done, what you're going to do, and how you can implement this 365 days a year. Because we're about changing people's lives, not just one day a year. So to support this, we're opening a competition to NAPA members to say, to tell us, there's the form on the website which we'll mention at the end, and just tell us what you've done, what you're planning to do, and you can win. This is amazing, which I wanted to keep it, but that wasn't allowed. So Ryman's have donated an arts material hamper, which is everything from their 1893 range, which is equivalent to about £600 to £700 worth of art material. So, I mean, that's amazing, amazing. We've also had Saga have donated some cash prizes. Yes. So there's a second a prize of £500 and then two of £250. So we want to reward people who are really kind of going above and beyond and really looking at inclusion and what they can do. But we also want you to tell us what we can do next year, how we can help, what sort of things you want, what resources. We've put some resources up, but we want to expand it for next year. So we want to know what will really help you. What can we do? So, you know, if you go on to silverrainbows.uk, and I think we'll put that up on the chat.
As if I magic, it'll appear.
Yeah, and then you can enter the competition. So we've kept it open until the 31st of August. So that will allow people to kind of really think about what they're going to do, and also maybe implement things after the 24th. Because if you've not, it's only a couple of weeks away. So if you're not prepared for that, but you might be doing something in summer. So that would be brilliant. You know, we just want to hear what people are doing, highlight some best practice, see some pictures of what you're doing. That'd be fabulous, or even videos. You can send it all in. And we just want to celebrate with you what you've been, all the great work you've been doing.
That's an amazing offer. I mean, I'm just thinking that art package in itself, we all know, I'm just going to give a plug for Arts and Care Homes on the 24th of September. How amazing to win the arts package, and you know, you could create something great, so it's a continuation as well, rolling on from one event to the next. Absolutely amazing. And then a cash prize, you know, that would be great for any activity budget out there to be involved. But even if, you know, you're not fortunate enough to win, it's still about just taking part. And you know, this is the first year that the Silver Rainbows Pride is going to be a national event. We want to continue that. We want to build on from that here at NAPA and with Body Positive. And there'll be lots of opportunities for you to share what it is you need, what you want to do, what resources, how we can help as two organisations together for next year's Pride as well. So if you've got any thoughts on that, please do share them. But yeah, any magical moments you have, we want to hear all about it, because this is your membership. But for those who are not NAPA members as well, you know, do get involved. Do go over and download the free resources, because they are available for everyone. We want this to be really inclusive, and for you to have fun. More importantly, it's all about the fun side of it. So I think we might have some questions from the. Well, have we got any questions from the audience? Oh, we have. Thank you, Gianna. As if by magic. Zeke, I work in a religious home, and we are not encouraged to promote LGBT activities. Should I challenge this? Yes. I think challenging it in the correct way is what I would advise to do. Starting with your line manager, just having them conversations. What can you do to support them? There's plenty of resources there available on the website that you can download. Sally, have you got anything you'd want to say?
It depends. I think appropriateness is always the best way to go. I think people make the assumption, like I said, that we don't have any of those here. Is again the phrase. So I think it's about finding out about what you can do that you feel safe with as well, because obviously, you know, that's primarily what you want to do, is to keep yourself safe and anybody else who it affects safe as well. I think promoting activities is kind of, it's, there are ways to do topic without having to kind of have a pride day or a whatever. So I think it's about introducing it into the conversation, and also, you know, it is about equality and inclusion. So I'm sure that all homes have equality and diversity policies, so it would be covered under that. So you ignore, it's not going to go away. So I would say that they need to have an approach which is within the law for a start off, but also is inclusive to the safety and security of the people in the home.
Yeah, brilliant. And it is about just having a conversation. It's not always about knocking on a door and challenging something. It's just about starting that initial conversation and doing it in a professional manner. We do have in the resources over on the website, there is a fantastic section that talks about EDI and why that's important, and that can help you if you're wanting to, or you feel comfortable in having them conversations with your line manager. Certainly do have a read on that section in the start of the resource. It's just a one page, and it just really spells it out and supports you in the thought process, but also in sharing why EDI is important. Thank you, Zeke. And oh, anonymous. Um, okay, so I just don't know where to start. The language and offending someone puts me off doing anything. Sally, this one's for you.
I think you can start off very low key. I mean, you do a bit of research. I mean, that's always good. In terms of language and offending someone, I'm not quite sure. Most people, if you ask them, I think a lot of this comes around to talk about pronouns or around gender identity and things like that. Talk to the person and ask them.
Yeah,
That's the thing. You won't, you know, you're not going to offend somebody. I mean, most people I know are happy to kind of say, actually, I prefer to be called then they or he, she, whichever their preferred pronouns are. Uh, don't get caught up in language. You know, if your motivation is to be understanding and inclusive, that's where you start from. If that's your motivation, people who want to be offensive and use the wrong language, they've got a different motivation. But if
yeah,
your motivation is to try to get something started and be inclusive, you're allowed to make mistakes. You are. I mean, we all make mistakes, and also language and preference is changing all the time. So keeping up sometimes can seem a bit daunting. But you know, if you're unsure, there's things you can look up and you can find out and ask what the most appropriate thing is. And a lot of it is down to personal preference. So talk to the person themselves, I would say.
yeah, definitely. We encourage that all the time, constantly throughout the practice. Is ask, be led by the individual. Some people might want to use LGBT plus. Some people might want to just use LGBT. Some might not want to be defined as anything at all. They might just not want to use. So ask, just as we do, what's your name, but what do you like to be known as? So I think we've got one more question. What time for one more question? Oh, Lucinda, I want to say a huge thank you. Wow, love this. I cannot wait to celebrate Silver Rainbow's Pride. I am part of the LGBTQ plus community, and this is music to my earrings. Well, if you know me, you know I love earrings, so it's music to mine too. Thank you for that. And if you've got any questions and we've not answered them today, please do not worry, because we will be in touch. You can continue the conversation if you're watching this not live and you're watching it afterwards, or you can contact the NAPA support line service, and we can certainly get in touch with Body Positive. And we also have an advisor here in the way of Mike Phillips, who is fantastic too for NAPA. Sally, I could literally talk to you all day, and as usual, we constantly run out of time so quickly. And I know this is a subject area that a lot of activity providers are continuously asking to discuss or support with. But as I mentioned, if you do want any more information, go over to the dedicated webpage, and the free support line is here. Just quickly before we go, We have some tickets left for our amazing disco on Friday, which celebrates the Queens of Pop. It's at 2 p.m. this Friday if you want to go over to the Eventbrite page. And it's been kindly sponsored by Familio, and tickets are just £5 per setting. It's online, it's interactive. You can ask for songs live, you can give shout outs to, I don't know, birthdays. We've had baby showers, and you can certainly connect with other organisations across the UK. If you've not been to one of our live online discos, you really are missing out. So please do come along. Lastly, don't forget the NAPA Members Awards close this Friday. So nominations are still open, and we're proud that Body Positive are sponsoring this year's Inclusion Award. So this recognises an individual or an organisation that has demonstrated exceptional commitment to the promotion of EDI. So get your nominations in now. Don't miss out. Thank you, Sally, for joining me today. We hope this has inspired you all to get involved for the National Day, again, which is the 24th of June, or around about. But either way, send in all your photos, tag NAPA and tag Body Positive. We want to see what's been happening throughout the National Day. But for myself and Sally, it's a really big wave of goodbye, and have a great rest of your week. Bye for now.